In a previous video, I told you about our vacation at the Sheraton Resort at Kaanapali Beach on the island of Maui, but I didn't complete the story. I left off at the part where Hurricane Olivia was churning in the ocean waters to the east of the Hawaiian Islands. We were staying in Maui for 6 nights, and the weather was really good for most of that time. This is a video I shot at sunset on Sunday, September 9th. You can see the skies were clear and conditions were exactly what you hope for when you vacation in Hawaii. Now here's the satellite photo from Monday the 10th. You can see Hurricane Olivia looking pretty nasty there to the east of Hawaii. But you can see that it was still clear over Maui at that point. Here's a shot I took that day showing clear blue skies. But I knew from keeping an eye on the National Hurricane Center's website that Olivia was forecast to head our way, and the local TV stations knew it too. They broke into their normal programming that afternoon and started doing live coverage.
Good afternoon. I'm Marissa Yamane coming to you from the KHON2 News Studio, and we are tracking Hurricane Olivia. Right now it is still a Category 1 storm with winds of around 75 miles per hour, still about 400-something miles away from the Big Island.
The thing that concerned me most was that the center of the storm was forecast to make a direct hit on Maui. And then the other thing was that the National Hurricane Center was predicting 5 to 10 inches of rain for Maui, although the local TV station's prediction was 4 to 8 inches. Still, that's a lot of rain, and when you add 85-mile-per-hour wind gusts to that, you've got the potential for some damage. On the other hand, our hotel was located on the west side of Maui, and the storm was coming in from the east. So I suspected the situation wouldn't be as severe on this side of the island, and that maybe the big hills in the center of the island might just squeeze all the rain out of those clouds, like squeezing water out of a sponge, leaving our side of the island much more dry. Meteorologists call this a rain shadow, and I've seen the effect in the Pacific Northwest, where a city like Seattle gets a ton of rain, and on the other side of the Cascade Mountain Range, it's a desert. The storm was forecast to hit Tuesday evening into Wednesday. Here's a time-lapse I shot on Tuesday morning. You can see we were starting to get a little bit of cloudiness at that point. Still, with temperatures in the mid-70s, it was still a nice morning. Kellen had bought a little box of Cheerios cereal, and she crumpled some of it up and put it out on our patio for the birds. They loved it. Here's a real-time view of things at about 10:30 a.m. Tuesday. We had actually started to get some light rain at this point. You can see the cement walkways are a little wet. Pretty soon, around 11 a.m., we started to get some real rain, and that shot reminds me that there was a JYI situation. JYI is the acronym we use in my family for Jim, you idiot. This kind of stuff happens so often we just use the acronym now to save time. What happened was, at home, before the vacation, I was packing my suitcase, and I use a packing list that I have perfected over many years of vacations. One of the standard items on my packing list is an umbrella. And the reason I'm declaring a JYI situation here is that when I got to umbrella on my packing list, I said to myself, oh, I won't need that in Hawaii. And I left it at home. So let's all say it together now, shall we?
Jim, you idiot.
Now, the weather hadn't totally gone bad yet. In between the rain showers, we got some nice rainbows. Hopefully, all my fellow tourists got their cameras out and got some nice rainbow photos or videos. I know I did. I also started to have some fun with the birds. They liked Kellen's Cheerios, so I thought I would see if they would like some crumpled up bits of popcorn. And it turns out that they loved that. So I decided to take it to the next level and see if I could get them to eat out of my hand. And they did. I am the bird whisperer. That afternoon, the rain showers had passed and it had warmed up nicely into the low 80s. I didn't want to squander what I thought would probably be the last of the good weather during our vacation, so I put my swimsuit on and went out into the water to have some fun watching people jump off of Black Rock. I was glad I had taken advantage of that opportunity to get in the water because once I got out, we started to get some increasing clouds, and then later some more rain. And then here's how things looked as the sun went down on Tuesday, with things expected to get a lot worse overnight. As soon as it got light outside on Wednesday morning, I started recording a time-lapse video from our balcony, and I figured I'd just keep it going all day so that no matter what happened, I'd have it on video. And I want you to notice that the clouds are basically moving in the same direction that the camera is pointed. The camera is pointed to the west, and the clouds are moving from east to west, which makes sense since we know the storm is coming in from the east. You can see the walkways were wet, but we really hadn't gotten all that much rain. There's an automated weather station on the golf course right next door to our hotel, and I could access the data from it over the internet, so instead of having to guess at how much rain we were getting, I had excellent, accurate data, which was a pretty cool way to experience a big storm. I could see wind speeds, rainfall amounts, temperatures, and even barometric pressure. The rainfall total for Tuesday had been 3/4 of an inch. Here's the satellite picture from 8 a.m. Wednesday morning. The center of Olivia, no longer a hurricane and officially a tropical storm now, was just off the east side of Maui. But at this point, the winds were surprisingly light. Remember on that newscast the day before, they were predicting 45 to 60 mile-an-hour winds with gusts to 80. But you can see the palm trees are not really moving all that much. And the automated weather station was saying we were getting winds of less than 10 miles an hour at this point. I figured that the strongest winds must be on the back side of the storm, because we certainly weren't seeing them ahead of the storm. I was expecting more by now. At 8:30 a.m., we got the heaviest rains I had seen so far. This is obviously the real-time view, not a time-lapse. Look at the palm trees, not really moving all that much. I expected more wind. Now here's the time-lapse of that same period as the rain was moving through. Conditions definitely deteriorating as the storm approaches. My worry was that once we got to the backside of the storm, it could get much more serious. Now, in just a second here, I'm going to switch over to the most interesting time-lapse of all. Watch this. This is starting at around 9 a.m. Notice the clouds are still moving the same way that the camera is pointing, which is west. And then, all of a sudden, they start moving left to right. And then we start to see blue sky. And I didn't realize it at the time, but in retrospect, I'm pretty sure that what we're seeing right here is the eye of the storm. And if we just wait a minute here, you'll see things cloud up again. And notice the clouds are very definitely moving from left to right here. That is not the direction that they were going in the previous time-lapse videos, and it seems like they're moving faster now, too. Now, remember that automated weather station at the golf course next door? Look at the data that it recorded that day. It's really interesting. Look at that bottom chart, the one with the black line. That's barometric pressure. Look at 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. It's very steady. And then all of a sudden at about 8 a.m., it starts to go down. And at about 9:30 a.m., it bottoms out. Then it starts to rise again, and by 10:30, 11 a.m., it's right back where it had been earlier. That, right there, is when the center of the storm passed right over Maui. 9:30 a.m. That is so cool. Does this make me a weather geek? Okay, so now we're on the back side of the storm, and looking outside, it doesn't look all that bad. I expected the worst of the storm right now, but that's not what I was seeing. Here's the time-lapse from around that same time. Very light winds. The storm is a dud. People start to come out of their rooms and are walking around the resort. And basically what had happened was that the wind shear had worked its magic on the storm, tearing it apart. And also that rain shadow effect was working in our favor on the west side of the island. The mountains in the center of the island squeezed all the water out of the clouds, dumping it all on the east side of the island. And on the west side where we were, we got off pretty easy. We had about 1 inch of rain on Wednesday, 3/4 of an inch on Tuesday. Storm total on the west side of the island, less than 2 inches. Not what I was expecting. And the automated weather station said the strongest gust of wind we got during the entire storm was about 22 miles an hour, with the sustained wind staying under 10 miles an hour most of the time. I'm Jim Zim, filling in for Willard Scott today here at the Weather Desk. People of a certain age will get that joke, but the young ones won't. Well, that's it for Hawaii videos. In November, I'll have videos for you from Cancun, where we'll be staying at an all-inclusive resort. Until then, more model train videos, I guess. Hit the thumbs up if you liked my Weather Geek video, and if you leave me a comment addressed to Willard Scott, you will get a good laugh out of me.